In this video, we're going to show you how to install the crankshaft position sensor on your Cadillac Escalade located behind the starter solenoid. You want to go ahead and open up the hood, locate the battery, which is on the passenger backside of the engine bay, and we want to disconnect the ground terminal on the battery using a 10mm socket extension. And just go ahead and loosen this here. Then we want to reach in there, grab that terminal and that harness and just kind of wiggle that and disconnect the ground terminal on the battery. Now sometimes if you can't get that battery terminal off, it is going to be easier to go ahead and remove this bracket. There are 4 14mm bolts. Go ahead, loosen and remove those. With that bracket out, you can then go ahead and reach right down, grab that, pull right up on that terminal. Now we're just going to tuck that aside. I'm just going to secure it underneath that harness. First, we want to start by removing our center cap. Now you want to go ahead and locate the notch in the center cap that lines up with the notch in the wheel. You can use a small pry tool or a flathead screwdriver and gently pry outward, separating the center cap. Put that aside. Using a 22mm socket, loosen and remove all of your lug nuts. Go ahead and remove the wheel and set it aside. Now our next step is to remove the starter. There are 2 13mm bolts right here and closer to the engine itself. And on the top here is a heat shield on top of the starter solenoid. It's basically just a spring-loaded clip to hold that in place. I'm going to go ahead and push up on this and pop this off. I'm going to reach up, pop that off, because what we're going to do is when we remove the 2 bolts from the starter, here it is. When we remove the 2 bolts from the starter, we need to move the starter forward to pull the snout out of the transmission bell housing. Push that forward and then drop it down so we can access the sensor up above. Grab that starter and push it forward. You might have to move that wiring harness with the other hand, get you a little more room to work on there. Tilt it down and then just bring that starter down. It's almost as if you're ready to remove the starter. And right here is our crankshaft position sensor. There's a little tab on the back. You need to pry that out a little bit and then pop that connector off. So what I can do is you can actually reach in through the wheel well area and get right to that connector and pop that off. Once you disconnect the connector, it now exposes the bolt securing the sensor. Using a 10mm socket and some extensions, I want to go ahead and loosen that bolt. Go ahead and remove it. Now in order to remove that sensor, you want to reach in there and grab it, and you're going to twist it while you're pulling out. There's a rubber O-ring securing that into the inside of the engine. So let's go ahead and get to it. And there you have it. Now take your sensor, I'm going to feed that in. Insert that into the side of the block. I'm just going to push that in a little bit to get that O-ring to seat. Line up that mounting tab there, and we'll get our bolt started. Now this bolt goes in real easy. I'm just going to run that down as far as I can by hand. And then we'll go ahead and torque that. Go ahead and torque down this bolt here to 18 foot-pounds. And that is absolutely specific. It must be torqued to 18. Now that we have it torqued into place, let's go ahead and install our connector. Just line it up. You're going to feel it and hear it snap into place. Go ahead and grab that starter, maneuver that back up, put the snout of the starter back into the transmission bell housing there. Just try to get that starter lined up, get one of these bolts started. And once you get one in, it should pretty much hold itself in place. I'm going to go ahead and grab that other bolt, and I'm going to throw it right on my extension. Feed that right up and in, and I'll get that started by hand as well. And we can go ahead and snug these down. Torque down your starter bolts to 37 foot-pounds. Install the heat shield for your starter solenoid. They're just little spring clips, so you're going to line this up on the starter solenoid like so and just pull it down, and these little snap collars will engage onto the outside of it. Go ahead and grab your wheel, line that up, set it on. Then we're going to go ahead and get our lug nut started. And once we get all of these started, we'll snug them all down. Go ahead and torque your lug nuts to 140 foot-pounds. You're going to do this in a crisscross pattern. And when you go to install your center cap, locate the little notch tab on this here, and you want to line this up with one of the notches in the wheel itself. Pop that on. Grab that ground terminal. Slide that over. And go ahead and snug down that terminal nut, 10 millimeter. And once it starts to bottom out, just give it a little bit more. Make sure it's snug, but you don't want to over tighten it. Grab that terminal in that cable and give it a good wiggle. Make sure it does not twist. At that point there, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.